After my nephew drained my brokerage portfolio of $520,000, he showed up at Christmas dinner driving a brand new Porsche Cayenne and announced he'd purchased a lakeside chalet in Kootenay Lake. 3 weeks later, my phone rang at 2 in the morning. He was screaming through tears. "What have you done to me? You've destroyed everything." My revenge was methodical, legal, and absolutely devastating. Before we continue, please subscribe to Shattered Vengeance and write in the comments what time it is where you are right now. I sat in the leather chair at my financial advisor's office, staring at the screen showing my investment portfolio balance. The world went silent as I watched the cursor blink over the final number. 0, not reduced, not partially withdrawn, completely emptied. $520,000, gone. The ATB financial statements lay spread across the mahogany desk, like autopsy reports. Every mutual fund, every GIC, every stock holding liquidated between December 2nd and December 6th, 2024, while I was visiting my daughter in Seattle. "David, I need you to walk me through this again," I said, keeping my voice steady. After 42 years as a structural engineer, I'd learned that panic solved nothing. Facts did. And the facts, as they appeared on David's screen, were that Dylan had done it. David Ellison adjusted his glasses, his discomfort obvious. The withdrawals were all authorized through your online access. Correct passwords, correct security questions, transferred to your checking account first, then withdrawn as certified checks. He pulled up the transaction log. 6 separate withdrawals over 5 days. The system flagged nothing because technically you authorized them. Except I didn't. I leaned forward, studying the timestamps. December 2nd, 9:47 a.m. December 3rd, 2:15 p.m. December 4th, 11:23 a.m., all during business hours, all while I was 3 time zones away. "Who has your login credentials?" David asked, though his expression suggested he already suspected the answer. 3 people. Myself, my late wife Margaret, who'd passed 2 years ago, and my nephew Dylan, who I'd given emergency access to after my triple bypass surgery last spring, just in case something happened, just in case I needed help. Dylan, 28 years old, my sister's boy, living in the garden-level suite of my Deerfoot Meadows house for the past 18 months because he'd lost his job in tech and needed to get back on his feet. The kid I'd helped raise after his father abandoned the family. The young man I'd mentored, supported, believed in. "I'll need to file a fraud report with the bank," David said carefully. "But I should tell you, internal theft cases are extraordinarily difficult when the perpetrator had authorized access." I drove home from downtown Calgary through freezing rain. The December streets were gray, matching my mood. My retirement savings gone. $520,000 accumulated over 4 decades of work. The money that was supposed to fund my final years, maybe leave something for my daughter and grandchildren. I pulled into my driveway on Sarcee Trail. Dylan's beat-up Honda Civic sat in its usual spot, rusted and dented. The garden-level suite lights were on. I could hear hip-hop music thumping through the walls. I unlocked the main house door and stood in my empty living room. Margaret's absence hit me again the way it did at unexpected moments. She would have known what to do. She'd always been better at reading people, at sensing when something was wrong. I'd trusted Dylan because Margaret had loved him like a son. That trust had cost me everything. I called the Calgary Police Service non-emergency line. 2 hours later, Detective Emily Harper arrived. Early 40s, sharp eyes, the kind of officer who'd clearly handled enough fraud cases to know how this would play out. She examined my bank statements, took notes on her tablet. "Mr. Harrington, I'll be direct with you. Your nephew had authorized access to these accounts. That makes this a civil matter, not criminal, unless we can prove coercion or identity theft. He stole over $200,000. Legally, he withdrew money from accounts he had permission to access." She set down her tablet. "I've seen cases like this. Family member is given access for emergencies, uses it for personal gain. Banks rarely cooperate because from their perspective, you authorize the access. Courts are backlogged for years. But I didn't need the courts to teach him a lesson. I just needed a plan. Even if you win a civil judgment, collecting is nearly impossible if the money's spent. So, he just gets away with it. I didn't say that. Detective Harper's expression softened slightly. If you've ever had someone you trust betray you, you know this feeling. Don't forget to subscribe to follow the final steps of this story. I said, the criminal system probably won't help you, but you have other options. Document everything. Lawyer up. Think strategically. That word, strategically, felt like an engineering blueprint for total collapse. She handed me her card. And Mr. Harrington, people who steal this brazenly usually make mistakes. Give them enough rope. After she left, I went to the garden-level suite door and knocked. No answer. The music kept pounding. I used my key. Dylan was sprawled on the couch, eyes glued to his phone, thumbs scrolling through what looked like luxury car listings. He glanced up, startled. Uncle Edward, you're back early. We need to talk. Something flickered across his face. Fear. Guilt. It vanished quickly, replaced by his usual easy smile. Sure, yeah. What's up? He muted the TV, but didn't put down his phone. My brokerage portfolios were emptied while I was in Seattle. His eyes widened. Performance-worthy shock. What? That's insane. Did you call the bank? Maybe it was hackers or something. I watched him carefully. 42 years of engineering had taught me to spot structural weaknesses. Dylan's facade had them. The way his left hand gripped his phone too tightly. The forced casual tone. The fact that he hadn't asked how much was taken. The bank says someone with my login credentials authorized the withdrawals. That's crazy. His voice pitched higher. Who would do that? Did you change your passwords? Maybe someone phished you. The desperation in his tone was audible, but it was hollow. Dylan, you're the only person besides me who has those credentials. He stood up quickly, hands raised. Whoa, hold on. You're not seriously accusing me. Uncle Edward, I would never. I can't believe you'd even think that. That phrase, I would never, is the final boundary of trust. Once it's crossed, everything is scorched earth. After everything you've done for me, after you took me in when I had nothing, then you won't mind if the police investigate. His face pled. The police? You called the cops on me? Your own nephew? I reported a theft. They'll investigate all possibilities. This is unbelievable. He grabbed his coat from the chair. You know what? I don't need this. I've been nothing but grateful. And you accuse me of being a thief. I'm going to stay at my girlfriend's place. When you're ready to apologize, you know where to find me. He stormed past me and up the stairs. I heard the front door slam, then his Honda starting up and pulling away. I stood in the garden-level suite looking around with new eyes, fast food containers, empty energy drink cans, but also new things I hadn't noticed before. An expensive gaming chair, a curved monitor I didn't remember seeing last month, a Arc'teryx jacket hanging on the door hook, retail price around $1,500. I pulled out my phone and opened a new note. Started typing. Timeline. December 2nd to 6th. Dylan home alone while I was in Seattle. December 7th, I return and discover theft. December 8th, Dylan acts shocked but defensive. I photographed the apartment, the new purchases. Then I locked it and went upstairs to my own home office. 42 years as a structural engineer had taught me one fundamental truth. Every structure has load-bearing points. Apply enough pressure to the right spots and the whole thing collapses. Dylan had just made his first mistake by running instead of staying to prove his innocence. He gave me the rope, just as the detective had advised. Now, I simply had to find the structural flaw in his elaborate lie and pull. Now, I needed to find his other mistakes. I hired Catherine Brooks on Tuesday morning. Her law office occupied the 15th floor of a glass tower on McLeod Trail, with a view stretching across downtown Calgary to the lake. Mid-50s gray suit, the kind of lawyer who charged $450 per hour and was worth every penny. "Family theft cases are ugly," she said after reviewing my documents. "The emotional component complicates everything, but you've got a solid foundation here. Authorized access doesn't mean unlimited access. There's an implied fiduciary duty. Can we prove he took it? We can build a circumstantial case strong enough to make his life extremely difficult." She pulled out a legal pad. "Tell me about Dylan's financial situation before the theft." I walked her through it. Dylan had been unemployed for 6 months before moving into my basement. His tech company had done layoffs. He'd been living off employment insurance, maybe $800 a month, rent-free in my apartment, no car payments because his Honda was paid off, no major expenses. And after the theft, that's what I need help investigating. Catherine nodded. "I'll hire a private investigator. Malcolm Pierce, former RCMP, specializes in financial tracking. He's expensive but thorough. We'll also need a forensic accountant to establish the timeline and trace the money. How much are we talking?" "Retainer of $15,000 covers my time, the PI, and preliminary forensic work. If this goes to court, we're looking at $40,000 to $60,000 total." I pulled out my checkbook, wrote the amount, my emergency savings, the money I'd kept in a separate account Dylan didn't know about. Thank God for Margaret's insistence on maintaining separate accounts just in case. "One more thing," Catherine said as I handed her the check. "You need to prepare yourself for what we might find. Family cases get messy. Expect him to claim the money was a gift or a loan, or that you're senile and don't remember authorizing it. He'll fight dirty." It was the second wave of pain. Not only the theft, but the coming battle to destroy my reputation and my memory. He didn't just steal my money. He was planning to steal my sanity. So will I. That evening, Dylan texted me. "Uncle Edward, I've been thinking maybe we got off on the wrong foot. Can we talk? I'm worried about you." I didn't respond. 2 days later, he showed up at my door. I watched through the window as he rang the bell, waited, rang again. He looked tired, stressed. "Good." I didn't answer. He left a note tucked under the doormat. "Uncle Edward, please talk to me. This is crazy. I love you. We're family, Dylan." I photographed the note from my file, then threw it away. Malcolm Pierce called me on December 18th. "Mr. Harrington, we need to meet. I found some interesting developments." His office was in Mississauga, a modest building that felt more functional than impressive. Malcolm himself was exactly what I'd expected. Early 60s, gray crew cut, no-nonsense demeanor. He spread photographs across his desk. "Your nephew has been busy." He tapped the first photo. "December 9th, 2 days after you confronted him, he put a deposit on this. A Porsche Cayenne, gleaming black. The window sticker visible in the photo showed a price of $124,000. He bought it. Deposit of $40,000, financing the rest through TD Auto Finance. Picked it up on December 12th. Malcolm pulled out more photos. Security camera footage from the dealership showing Dylan signing papers, beaming at the sales manager. My stomach tightened. Dice dollar. My money. It gets better. Malcolm slid over another document. On December 14th, he closed on a property, lakeside chalet in Kootenay Lake near Nelson. Purchase price, $520,000. Down payment, $95,000. I stared at the property listing. Cedar cottage, private dock, 3 bedrooms. The kind of place Margaret and I had always dreamed of retiring to but could never quite afford. He hadn't just bought a house. He'd purchased our unfinished dream with our stolen savings. It was a direct attack on Margaret's memory. That was the line he couldn't take back. $85,000 in cash inside 2 weeks, I said, plus his monthly expenses. Where's the rest of the money? Unknown. Likely sitting in an account somewhere, or he's being smart and parceling it out slowly. Malcolm pulled up a spreadsheet on his laptop. Here's his paper trail. December 2nd through 6th, your accounts liquidated. December 7th, $95,000 deposited into his TD checking account. December 8th, $85,000 deposited into a new Tangerine savings account. December 9th, withdrawals begin. Car deposit, lawyer retainer for the cottage purchase, furniture deliveries. He's not even trying to hide it. Why would he? Malcolm leaned back. He thinks he got away with it. You're an elderly man who trusted him. Police won't pursue it. Civil courts take years. From his perspective, he won. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not rage, not grief, something methodical and precise. The same feeling I got when I found a critical flaw in a bridge design. The knowledge that something needed to be corrected and I had the tools to do it. What else do you have? Employment records. He's not working. His girlfriend, Sophie, works at a dental office, makes about $42,000 a year. There's no legitimate source for this kind of cash. This wasn't about recovery anymore. This was a masterclass in controlled demolition. I would use the very laws he mocked to dismantle his life piece by piece. I thanked Malcolm and drove home. That night, I created a spreadsheet. Assets purchased with my money. Porsche Cayenne, $124,000. Kootenay Lake Cottage, $520,000. Estimated furniture and electronics, $15,000. Total deployed approximately $115,000 of my $520,000. Remaining $405,000. Location unknown. My phone rang. My daughter Lauren calling from Seattle. Dad Dylan reached out to me. He says you've accused him of stealing and won't talk to him. What's going on? I explained everything. The timeline, the evidence, the purchases. Silence on the line. Then, oh my God, Dad. I'm so sorry. I can't believe he seems so grateful to you. People change when money's involved. What are you going to do? Whatever it takes to make this right. After we hung up, I sat in Margaret's favorite chair by the window, looking out at the snow beginning to fall on Shepherd Avenue. Christmas lights twinkled on neighboring houses, families gathering for the holidays. Dylan had stolen more than money. He'd stolen my peace, my trust, my faith that family meant something. I was going to take it all back. Catherine called on December 20th. The forensic accountant finished her preliminary report. She's found discrepancies that the Canada Revenue Agency would find very interesting, such as Dylan reported income of $31,000 last tax year, all from employment insurance. He claimed he's been unemployed since. Yet, he's made cash purchases totaling over $100,000 in December alone. The CRA has a tip line for suspected tax fraud. I understood what she was suggesting. If I report him, the CRA investigates. If they find unreported income, the penalties are substantial. 20% of the unreported amount plus interest plus potential criminal charges for amounts over $100,000. She paused. It's completely legal to report suspected fraud. You'd be doing your civic duty. Send me the details. That evening, I filled out the CRA's online form. Lead information form, RC420. Taxpayer name Dylan Robert Harrington. Description: individual made cash purchases totaling $115,000 in December 2024 with no reported income source. Suspect unreported income or gifts. Attached Malcolm's photos and the timeline. I clicked submit. Confirmation number appeared on screen. Phase 1 complete. Christmas came. Dylan showed up at my door on Christmas Eve, gifts in hand. I watched through the peephole as he rang the bell 3 times, then left the packages on the porch. After he drove away in his Porsche Cayenne, I brought them inside. Expensive bottle of scotch. New cashmere scarf card that read, "To Uncle Edward. I miss you. Can we please talk? Love always, Dylan." I put the gifts in the basement unopened. My daughter flew in from Seattle with my grandchildren. We had Christmas dinner together, just the 4 of us. 7-year-old Olivia asked, "Where's cousin Dylan? He always comes for Christmas. He's busy this year, sweetheart." On Boxing Day, Catherine emailed me. The private investigator found something else. Dylan's girlfriend, Sophie, recently upgraded her engagement ring, $8,500 at a Burke's jeweler in Yorkdale. Paid cash, more of my money, funding their life together. I spent New Year's Eve alone reviewing my case files, every document organized chronologically, every photo labeled, every transaction traced. 42 years of engineering had made me methodical. This was just another project. The specifications, complete financial collapse for Dylan. The timeline, as long as it takes. The budget, whatever remained of my savings. January brought the cold. Calgary temperatures dropped to -20, the kind of cold that made your lungs ache. Malcolm called on January 9th. The CRA has opened an investigation into Dylan Harrington. File number assigned. They'll send him a letter requesting documentation within 30 days. How do you know that? I have contacts. Malcolm's voice held grim satisfaction. They move slowly, but when they move, they're thorough. He'll need to explain where $115,000 came from. Employment insurance doesn't cover it. No inheritance, no legitimate gifts. He's got no good answer. Catherine filed the civil lawsuit on January 15th. Statement of claim. Dylan Robert Harrington, defendant. Edward Arthur Harrington, plaintiff. Amount claimed $520,000 plus interest, legal fees, and punitive damages. Cause of action, breach of fiduciary duty, conversion, unjust enrichment. The process server found Dylan at the Kootenay Lake cottage on January 18th. Malcolm had surveillance photos. Dylan opening the door in expensive loungewear, face going pale as he read the lawsuit papers. Sophie visible behind him, asking what was wrong. My phone rang that night. Dylan screaming, "You sued me, your own nephew, over money you gave me for helping you with your accounts." I'd been waiting for this lie. Stayed calm. I never gave you anything except a place to live, rent tree. You're lying. You told me that money was for me for taking care of you after your surgery. This is elder abuse, Uncle Edward. You're confused. I'm not confused, Dylan. I'm very clear. See you in court. You'll regret this. His voice turned ugly. I'll tell everyone you're senile. I'll get a doctor to testify. You'll look like a vindictive old man who doesn't remember his own generosity. I hung up. He tried calling back 6 times. I blocked his number. The CRA letter arrived at Dylan's address on January 22nd. Malcolm obtained a photo of it. Request for documentation. Prove source of funds for purchases made December 2024. Provide bank statements. Explain discrepancy between reported income and spending patterns. Response required within 21 days. February came. Still no response from Dylan's lawyer to the lawsuit. Catherine filed a motion for default judgment. Then on February 8th, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered anyway. Mr. Harrington, this is Robert Langford. I'm representing your nephew Dylan in the civil matter and the CRA inquiry. Professional voice, expensive lawyer. My client maintains that the money in question was a gift given in recognition of his caretaking services. He's prepared to provide an affidavit to that effect. Your client is lying. Sir, I understand emotions run high in family disputes, but we need to discuss settlement. Litigation is expensive and uncertain. My client is willing to negotiate. Tell your client to return every penny he stole, plus interest, and I'll consider dropping the suit. That's not realistic. The money has been spent on legitimate purchases. Then we'll see what the court says. Silence. Then, Mr. Harrington, you should know the CRA investigation is causing my client significant stress. If you were to withdraw your complaint, I reported suspected tax fraud. Whether the CRA investigates is their decision, not mine. You're trying to destroy a young man's life over a misunderstanding. Your client destroyed his own life when he stole from me. We're done talking. I hung up. Catherine called 30 minutes later. Langford reached out to me too. He's scared. The CRA is demanding documentation Dylan can't provide, and our lawsuit is solid. He's trying to negotiate because he knows he'll lose. What's our next move? We wait. Let the pressure build. The CRA moves slowly, but they're relentless. He'll have to either explain the money, which incriminates him in our civil case, or refuse to cooperate, which triggers penalties and potential criminal charges. Dylan was trapped. Every path led to consequences. March arrived with freezing rain, the kind of weather that made Calgary gray and miserable. Malcolm called with news. Dylan's trying to sell the Porsche Cayenne, listed it privately for $85,000. Problem is, he still owes $72,000 on the financing. At best, he nets $13,000. Why would he sell? Cash flow problems. The CRA probably froze his accounts pending the investigation. He can't access the money he stole without proving it's legitimate. He's stuck. 2 days later, Malcolm had more. The cottage is listed for sale, asking $420,000. He's owned it for 3 months. Dylan was liquidating. The pressure was working. Catherine filed for an injunction, emergency motion to prevent Dylan from dissipating assets pending resolution of the lawsuit. The court granted it on March 18th. Order restraining Dylan Robert Harrington from selling, transferring, or encumbering the property at 247 Lakeshore Drive, Nelson, without court approval. Malcolm sent me the photo of the deputy serving the order. Dylan standing in his doorway reading the papers, face ashen. Sophie behind him, crying. My phone rang at 2 a.m. on March 23rd. Dylan drunk. What have you done to me? You've destroyed everything. I was silent. Let him talk. The CRA wants $35,000 in taxes and penalties. My lawyer wants another $8,000. I can't sell anything because of your injunction. Sophie left me. She said, I'm a liar and a thief. He was sobbing now. I'm going to lose the cottage, lose the car. I'll have nothing. You took everything from me first. It was just money. You're rich. You didn't need it. I worked 42 years for that money, Dylan. Every dollar. While you sat on your couch playing video games and plotting how to steal from the man who gave you a home. He was trying to pivot the guilt, but the structure of his excuse was collapsing, just as I planned. I hate you. I hope you die alone. You miserable old bastard. He hung up. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Sat in the dark thinking about Margaret. What she would say about all this, whether I'd gone too far, whether revenge was worth it. Then I remembered coming home to find my accounts emptied. Remembered Dylan's performance, his fake shock, his willingness to let me believe I'd been hacked rather than admit what he'd done. No, I hadn't gone too far. I'd gone exactly far enough. April brought warmer weather. The snow melted. Calgary came back to life. The CRA assessment arrived on April 2nd. Malcolm obtained a copy. Total owed $41,750. Unreported income of $115,000. Tax owing $26,450. Penalties $23.90. Interest $1,210. Payment due within 90 days or wage garnishment and asset seizure would begin. Dylan had no wages to garnish, and his assets were frozen by my injunction. Catherine called. His lawyer wants to settle. They're offering $85,000. The proceeds from selling the Porsche Cayenne, plus liquidating some other assets. I want $520,000 plus interest, plus my legal fees. He doesn't have it. Then he can sell the cottage. The injunction prevents that without court approval. I know that's the point. May brought the civil trial. Alberta Court of King's Bench. Justice Margaret Ellison presiding. Dylan arrived with Robert Langford looking haggarded. He'd lost weight. His expensive clothes hung loose. I sat with Catherine at the plaintiff's table, calm, prepared. The trial lasted 3 days. Catherine presented our case methodically. Timeline, bank records, Dylan's purchases, expert testimony from the forensic accountant, Malcolm's surveillance photos. Langford tried to argue gift, claimed Dylan had provided caretaking services worth $520,000. Couldn't provide any documentation. No written agreement, no employment records, no T4 slips. The judge wasn't buying it. I could see it in her expression as she reviewed the exhibits. On the 3rd day, Dylan took the stand. Langford walked him through his version that I'd promised him the money for taking care of me after surgery, that I'd given him the passwords and told him to help himself, that I was confused now, didn't remember. Catherine cross-examined, methodical and devastating. Mr. Harrington, if your uncle gave you this money as a gift in December, why didn't you report it to the CRA as a gift? I didn't know I had to. You're 28 years old with a business degree. You didn't know gifts over $10,000 must be reported. I forgot. You forgot? And when did you start providing these alleged caretaking services? After his surgery. In May 2024. So 7 months of part-time care is worth $520,000. That's $40,000 per month, more than most full-time nurses earn, Dylan stammered. He was grateful. He wanted to reward me by giving you his entire retirement savings. Mr. Harrington, did you take a single day off work to care for your uncle? I was unemployed. I was available whenever he needed me. Available? Did you cook for him sometimes? How many times? I don't remember exactly. More than 10, maybe. Did you drive him to medical appointments once or twice? Did you help him with household chores? When he asked, Catherine pulled out photos. Dylan's garden-level suite before and after the theft. These are photos of your living space. Before December, you had modest furnishings. After December, new gaming equipment, new furniture, new television, all purchased with your uncle's money while claiming it was payment for services. Can you explain how playing video games in his basement constitutes caretaking? Dylan had no answer. The judge delivered her ruling on May 15th. I find the defendant's testimony not credible. The evidence clearly demonstrates a breach of fiduciary duty and conversion of funds without authorization. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $520,000 plus prejudgment interest at 3% from December 6, 2024, totaling $21,368 plus legal costs of $47,500. Total judgment, $781,180. Dylan sat frozen as the judge read the decision. Sophie wasn't there. She'd left him in March, moved back in with her parents. Catherine leaned over. We can now enforce this judgment, seize his assets, garnish any income, force sale of the cottage. Do it. The cottage went up for auction on June 10th. Court-ordered sale. The bid started at $250,000, well below market value. I sat in the courtroom gallery watching. Bidding climbed $280,000, $310,000, $340,000. At $360,000, I raised my paddle. Dylan, sitting with his lawyer, turned and saw me. His face went white. The auctioneer called for further bids. Silence. Sold to bidder 73 for $360,000. I'd bought the cottage, the place Dylan purchased with my stolen money at a $25,000 discount. After court fees and the outstanding mortgage Dylan had taken, the net proceeds were $187,000 applied to the judgment. He still owed me $594,180. The Porsche Cayenne went next, seized and sold at auction for $79,000. After paying off Dylan's loan, the net was $7,000. Judgment balance, $587,180. Catherine filed for wage garnishment, but Dylan had no wages, no job. Living with his mother in Scarborough, my sister refusing to take my calls. On June 30th, Dylan filed for bankruptcy. Personal bankruptcy. Trustee assigned. All assets liquidated. Debts discharged. Except judgments for fraud aren't dischargeable in bankruptcy. Catherine explained this to me. The fraud finding means he'll owe you this money for the rest of his life. Every job he gets, we can garnish wages. Every asset he acquires, we can seize. He'll never be free of it. I sat in the Kootenay Lake cottage in July. My cottage now, the place Margaret and I had dreamed of. The dock stretched out into the lake, water lapping gently. Sunset painted the sky orange and pink. I'd recovered $194,000 of my $520,000. Lost $16,000 to the process, plus the legal fees. But I had the cottage worth more than what I'd lost. More importantly, Dylan had nothing. Bankrupt at 28, credit destroyed, relationship destroyed, living in his mother's basement again, working part-time at a warehouse for minimum wage, which we garnished 25% of. My sister called once in August, screaming at me, "You destroyed my son's life over money? You're his uncle. Family is supposed to forgive. Tell her son that stealing has consequences. He made a mistake. He's young. He's 28, not 18. And it wasn't a mistake. It was calculated theft. You're a monster. I hung up, blocked her number. Lauren visited in September with my grandchildren. We spent a week at the cottage, swimming, fishing, building campfires. Olivia asked about Dylan once. Is he still in trouble? Yes, sweetheart. He made some very bad choices. Will he say sorry? I don't know. He never did. No apology, no acknowledgement, just silence. I sold my Deerfoot Meadows house in October, moved to the cottage full-time. The Kootenai Lake community welcomed me. Neighbors who didn't know the story just knew I was Edward, the retired engineer who liked morning walks and afternoon fishing. On Christmas Eve, I stood on the dock watching snow fall onto the frozen lake. 1 year since Dylan had stolen everything. 1 year since this all began. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Uncle Edward, it's Dylan. I know you blocked me. I just want to say I'm sorry. I was selfish and stupid. I destroyed our relationship for money. I think about it every day. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. Merry Christmas. I read it twice. Stood in the falling snow, breath visible in the December air. Then I deleted it. Didn't respond. Sorry wasn't enough. It was an insult, not an apology. It was a final, pathetic attempt to avoid the consequences. Sorry didn't give back the year of stress, the betrayal, the shattered trust. Sorry was just a word. I went inside, lit a fire, poured a glass of the scotch Dylan had given him, sat in the chair facing the lake, watching the flames. Justice hadn't brought joy, just closure, just the cold satisfaction of knowing that actions have consequences, that theft doesn't pay, that even family isn't immune to accountability. The greatest cost of betrayal is the loss of the man you were before it happened. I was Edward the engineer, not Edward the executioner. But Dylan had forced the role change, and I played it to the finish. Margaret's photo sat on the mantel, smiling. Forever. 58. I raised my glass to her. We got our cottage, love. Not the way we planned, but we got it. The fire crackled. Outside, the snow fell heavier, blanketing the dock in white. It was finished. If this story resonated with you, let me know in the comments if you think the sentence was enough, and share this video with someone who understands the meaning of true justice. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to Shattered Vengeance, and share your thoughts in the comments below. To listen to the next story, click on the video on the left. Thank you for watching.